Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another issue of the Volpe Bazzo Report. This is April 3rd. We've just came out of our Easter snowstorm. I got great news for you. Dominic couldn't take the snow anymore, so he's down in Florida having Mai Tais. And he left us with Michael Grace again as a political commentator. But Darren Rigger and Brian Fumigalli were not murdered by Bruce and Mike. They're actually back here in their roles as political commentators and guest hosts. So how's the last 3 months been for you?
It's been good.
Now,
freaking cold.
We want to thank Chris. Even though Brian has not been on the show, he's made sure, and he's always had his better half put the shows on YouTube. So we want to thank Christine Scotty.
Which is your best half?
Nothing on this side.
the half that's in the dark. Then we also want to say hello to Marianne McCara, #1 fan. So everybody say hello to Marianne.
Hello, Marianne.
And we have, I have an announcement. Last year in the Peaksville race, you had a group called Peaksville United. And I know Bob Sullivan of the group. I've known him personally. He's been a customer and a friend for years.
I didn't know that.
And his wife has also been a very dear friend of ours. And she told me today, as I was taking her home, that Bob Sullivan,
Joe Torres,
and
Luis Segarra,
have started their own cable TV show around town with Peaksville United, and it's going to be every Wednesday night at 7:30. And so I want you folks to give it a shot. Apparently, they do have a deprecating humor. Mm-hmm. When you see, if you go to Facebook, you can see their plug. YouTube
all three
plug.
of them were on the Republican ticket that lost this past November.
But they are nice people, and it's nice to see them.
They are nice people.
They are nice.
They are nice people, actually. I served for 4 years on the council with Joe Torres.
Yes.
A very nice guy.
Yep.
You know. So.
That's not what you said during the race. You said
I didn't vote for him. He's a nice guy, but I didn't vote for him.
Oh, come on. You had us digging in his backyard for the bodies.
I didn't.
That was just on what you said.
Did. No, they ran. What was interesting is the Peaksville United. The whole theme was that 2 of them are registered Democrats, and they ran on the Republican slate. So they're like a unity ticket.
Right.
It's funny, Brian with the Peaksville Post couldn't win in that one. No matter what he covered, everybody said he was on the other side.
Yep, all lunatics in Peaksville.
You know what? I always
absolute lunatics.
I get surprised at how much, the one thing that shocked me, and one thing I never did, was I don't think I ever pressured the press. It was very rare exception.
You called me. I did an editorial once that you didn't like, but you just called me up and you bitched about it.
Yeah, I'm always surprised that there's some, they lean on the press like crazy.
Well, and now with Facebook's been around for a while, obviously, but it wasn't this way when I was with Halston Media, but because I post all my articles on my newspaper on Facebook, and they just attack me. They would just attack me all day, and it's just like lunacy.
Well, you know what it is.
Lunacy. I would ask them to, for something. All right, what's a real criticism, and they would just name call and then just run away. It was ridiculous.
You get heat, don't you, or not?
I used to get a lot of heat, and the reason why it stopped is because Bruce, Brian, and now the Brian Marshauser have always allowed me to respond to my critics. So when it gets to a certain point, they give me enough column space that I can take exactly what they said and then respond to that, so I cannot be taken out of context. So you get these.
But for politicians, has a politician ever said, "Hey, you better endorse me in your column"?
I've had some politicians say, "Well, you didn't call me from." I said, "I don't need your opinion to tell me what mine is."
Well, you're an opinion columnist, obviously.
Right, I write opinion, and I certainly don't need to. I'm not fair and balanced. I'm not supposed to. I'm talking about how I see this. And if I say you're
got to
wrong,
report your commentary.
I say you're wrong. It's because I'm watching and I'm reading, and there's no way you're going to tell me that what you just said is not what you meant.
The problem that you ran into when we were together at Halston Media was certain the ownership of the papers were concerned about you being in certain towns. They felt that
Right.
your town was conservative enough for you, Somers wasn't. That you would offend people in certain towns. So they put you in Mayapack, they put you in your town, but then they said to the other ones, no. Because
See, I find that fascinating because, and especially in the context of all the hullabaloo, about about the Russian collusion thing
Right,
and
yeah.
the Facebook, and it says, I got a talking head that said something about with the Analytica, with
Cambridge Analytica.
Right.
that they actually took data, which to me everybody has kind of voluntarily stuck out there. You're sticking your own data out there.
yeah.
I guess somebody can go on. Well, the privacy policy isn't clear, but bottom line is if you don't understand that you're throwing stuff out into the public domain, you're going to
When you go to Facebook as a person,
Right.
you are the product because people are paying Zuckerberg a lot of money for all this information he gathers
Right.
about
Right.
you.
It's
The
like LinkedIn,
product
that's what
is
LinkedIn-
the product is not what's posted.
Right.
It's
You.
you, right? It's the only thing.
And people have to understand
data
Twitter.
mining you all the time.
Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. You are the product. Same when you go to the store and you use those little scanner things when they scan your barcode in the back of your card. This is so they can sell that information
Right. But that's-
to
it used
other
to be-
people. This has been going
Right.
on
It used to be
forever.
mailing lists. That
Mailing lists, right.
Mailing
Yeah.
lists.
Mailing.
But now it's much more in-depth stuff because, and that you voluntarily. Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
remember
almost
when
sophisticated.
I remember when I
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
bar
Yeah,
magazine in the city, Private Lives, and people offered a lot of money for our mailing list.
yeah.
They
and
offered
you
us
do,
tremendous because we had a select clientele. It was cabarets and bars and so that's where the magazine, and this was the audience they wanted, people with a lot of disposable income.
Right. You can hone into your target very carefully with all that data. But what's funny about it all is that, because you hear this on a 24-hour news cycle all the time about, I was curious as to, the Russian collusion. What was it supposed to be? That they tried to influence an American election? Give me a break. Isn't both political campaigns trying to influence everybody? Isn't everything out there trying? And the thing is, what nobody understands, it's supposedly a democracy where we have a free press. So as long as the press is doing their job, that is the check and balance on any.
Yeah, but the joke is collusion's not a crime. Number one, there is no crime of
But even-
collusion. But number two,
Well, I mean,
didn't
but in
we?
political
Didn't
campaigns,
we?
it's a crime.
Didn't
It
as
is
a
illegal, though.
country, when Obama was president, interfere in Brexit?
It doesn't-
Did
it
we
does- it-
not
yes, it-
interfere?
No, but
Did
doesn't
we
matter.
not
As a campaign thing,
interfere
but
in
we're all-
the Israeli
The
elections?
collusion on a campaign is illegal, though. I mean, it just is. So
There
like-
isn't
No.
a law on it, Darren. There is
so
no
I have
law.
to, as a political campaign, right? In whether it's especially with federal law, if I am spending any money on my campaign, I have to disclose it. So any money
Right.
raised or spent, I'm not allowed to use corporate money. So if I walked up to you and said, "Listen, I want you to use your corporate money and run a negative ad about my opponent,"
Yeah.
and we work together and we collude, and I tell you what message, and you
No,
go ahead
but
and do
wait,
it,
but no, but
it's
you're-
no longer an independent
Yeah, but
expenditure.
you're
no,
not-
but it's no longer an independent
Right, but you're not
expenditure.
that- you
so the
can't-
collusion is illegal, though.
No,
It's
no,
not.
but the collusion
No,
they're
it-
talking
it
about
is.
with the Russians.
That's illegal campaign.
That's not
No,
illegal.
because there's no quid pro quo.
It doesn't matter. I mean, just if you're rich, if you're the Koch brothers or
Right.
George
George
Soros,
Soros, right.
yeah, if you're George Soros,
Darren Rigger.
if I'm a candidate for office,
Right.
I can't collude with you about your independent expenditure.
Right.
But that's not what they're accusing
But
Trump's
No, but I'm just saying
campaign
you
of
can't say
doing.
collusion for a candidate is not illegal.
No,
because it is.
no.
No,
The
but
collusion they're
Like a PAC has to be
discussing.
separate from the
Correct.
campaign.
Yes.
The
Yes. If I
discuss-
could
the
prove that we
collusion
shared
that-
information or
The
messaging,
collusion that
then I'm just
Matt,
end running campaign law.
but
But
the col-
but that's there's certain naivete to that because everybody's doing end around the campaign laws, which is why the campaign laws
you
are
make a
bad.
career
Yeah.
of it, Darren.
Yeah.
No, I,
You make
no,
a career
listen,
of it.
I'm like, I look at myself like an
Charles
accountant.
Rangel always ran a very tight. Nothing went wrong in that.
I
That's
look,
right.
I look at
No
myself. No,
legalities.
listen. I look at myself like an accountant, right? Like when you walk into your accountant, you have this kind of tacit understanding that he's going to help you save money, right? He's going to say he's going to educate you how to do this correctly in a way to be most efficient and save money, right? That's what I do. I do it with my candidates, and I'm like, look, we're going to do this. We're going to win this campaign. but we're going to cross the T's, dot the I's, and I'm going to make sure you stay out of jail.
Right, but interesting.
But that's what you got to do.
Right,
No, but
You can't be like, everyone goes to jail.
We had a
That's
conversation
crazy.
once, and I found it interesting. I remember you telling me, well, what did we do when we wanted to for the last election, and you wanted to get your base up?
Yeah.
What you did, you called them up and said, you got to, you vote against the Republicans to stick it up Trump.
What were those phone calls you made
But-
again?
Robocalls.
Yeah,
so
but-
recorded messages.
had nothing,
Yeah,
had
but
nothing
you got the
had
women
nothing to do
mad.
with the.
Wasn't it with the women you got mad?
Oh, yeah.
But that's
Women are always mad.
No, but they
That doesn't take much. Jeez.
But I'll tell you a targeting story, and this is true because you're saying about the Facebook and the analytics. Years ago, like 20 years ago, when the gay marriage stuff started
Right.
15 years ago, when the gay marriage stuff started to float up, we wanted to mail out things to people who would be in favor of gay marriage. But it was not popular amongst the overall population. So you didn't want to have a big television commercial that says, hey, I'm the candidate, I'm in favor
That's
of
why
gay
all
marriage.
Democrats always said I'm against
But-
gay marriage, even though you knew they were for
But
it.
you wanted the Democrats or the gay people to know you were
Right,
for
right.
gay marriage, right?
Right.
But now, how does one find a gay person, right? You can see voter registration, you can see Democrats and Republicans, but how do you know who's gay? So a list broker came to us, and they said they can take the registered Democrats in any election district and throw them into some database that they have. And if you hit like 70 out of these 100 data points,
You probably lean one
you're
way.
either gay or gay friendly. And I said, what kind of things? They're like literally things like bought tickets to see Rosie O'Donnell, bought a Melissa Etheridge album, and saw Melissa Etheridge in concert.
Didn't you go see Melissa?
Drive a Super.
Use your credit
Oh, God,
card.
super
Use your
duper.
credit card or gay bars. They know that you used your credit card.
You
at
would
gay
get
bar
lost in
restaurants.
that. They wouldn't find you.
So all this data, and this was 20 years ago.
But what I'm saying is that you got it. The point being is that the feigned outrage and everybody's aghast. It's like holy. They actually
been doing
use-
this for
they-
years.
Yeah.
When
which
Obama
is-
Wait
did
a
it,
second.
he was a genius. Their
I got-
operation was a genius.
I
on
want
social
Darren.
media.
Targeting,
I
yeah.
want
Right, I mean,
Darren
it's so
to tell.
targeting is so
This
stupid.
is a story Darren told me when he was running for Congress, when he was working on Andy Spano's campaign. About, do you know where your children are?
Oh, that was it. That was
Tell that story.
no, but it was an Andy Spano piece of lit.
This
he
was
had.
great literature to get.
It was
there
terrifying.
There was a thing about with children.
It was when the sex offense. Well, it was
Right.
new. Remember, Janine
Oh,
Pirro
right,
was
right, yeah,
talking
before
to.
the Megan Law stuff.
Yeah. She would like have her investigators talk to someone online, and then
Right, do
turns out that
fact
guy
check,
would say
yeah.
the wrong thing, and Janine Pirro would
But
arrest
he
them
did
and
one
stuff.
of the great mailers of
So
all
the
time.
mailer was just a child, right, on a swing in a park. I believe that was it. And there's like a shadowy kind of guy off to the edge, and the mailer was, "Do you know where your child is?" And when you open it, it says, "He does." Terrifying.
But the bottom line is that
But it got people riled up.
Good mailer.
and everybody is fun. It's funny because that's what campaigns about. Nothing about being truthful or being honest about the issue. It's trying to draw out people. If you get people's passions up, you're more than likely to get them out to vote than anything else. So the idea is that if you have everybody trying to collect this data and zero in, because that's what campaigns do. There's no true intellectual honesty about a campaign. So the thing is, to feign, be shocked about the fact that this is exactly
Well, that's what we see 24/7 now. Everyone is feigning outrage.
There's
over
gambling,
everything.
gambling in
And it's
Casablanca.
As a guy that spent his life in media, how do you find the media dealing with what these
pathetic. They're
that's
pathetic.
obviously
Because
They
they
are
have-
pathetic individuals.
because
they're
they have-
detestable. They're dishonest. I don't know how they live with themselves.
No, I'm not
They
about
are
now.
just
I'm talking about
atrocious.
like you covered his races.
Yes.
You and I were friends when he was running, and we saw how the competition covered the Peaksville races. I mean, you knew what you were going to be bombarded with by the local candidates. In your position, do you have to walk a thin line to make sure you still maintain a relationship?
Yes, sometimes it's impossible. Like the old saying is that when you walk in the middle of the road, you get hit by both sides. If you're on one, you only get hit by one side of one traffic. So, like, first of all, almost all papers, and this is nothing new, they do endorsements. I think those are ridiculous. Never do endorsements. But the thing is that each party, usually each candidate has something that they don't really like that could make them look bad if you reported on it, but it would be fair game. So you have to decide, because if you do it for one, you have to do it for the other. And these days we see that it's only done for one and not the other at all, nationally at least. And so once you do a negative story on candidate A is going to, well, what about this guy? He's going to get on you for that. And the candidate B people will cheer you and say how great you are. Then the next week when the negative comes out about them, then they're after you.
No, but,
and then no one likes you.
Because then I want to get here, because you did a column once that he wasn't happy with, and you let him know.
One of my rare editorials I did.
It was somebody that was.
There was a columnist we had in the paper
who actually was writing stuff that was really, and you know what, and he was doing it serially, and we mentioned, hey, look, I again, because I'm one of these people that says free press is free press, and hell with it. But then this guy just went over. He
went after your law firm.
Well, he went over the line. He basically, this is when Sheldon Silver was in trouble. And he just decided that he would call me Sheldon Silver because I was a lawyer and in politics. So that everything had to be, anything I did or said and he wanted to go, he wanted to know who my clients were, which as a lawyer is a very sacred bond between,
right.
And the bottom line is that I do personal injury stuff. And most of my clients are minorities, Hispanics and blacks from the Bronx. And you know what? And because personal injury. So, but he made innuendo, and then based upon another innuendo.
It was more
than innuendo.
Well, this is interesting.
Well, then he eventually.
There was one column that you remarked to us, you complained about specifically. Yeah. That was over the top, and as an editor in chief, I didn't see all the columns. I didn't really even know about that column, and I saw it. I said, we should have caught that. But I will take responsibility for this. The reason we hired him was in an effort to be fair and balanced. Because while our reporting was fair, certain people have problems with fairness. They're so used to a slanted media that when they see fairness, they call it bias. And in Yorktown especially, everybody thought the Yorktown News was Michael Grace's newspaper. It was ridiculous. And
but you hired that columnist to balance me.
Wait a second.
Because people were upset.
In our columnists, we had you, who are conservative. Then we also had, I think, was Bruce there? Lonnie Gilbert. Who was there? No,
I thought Jim
Marano, who's a liberal.
Yeah, but
he was wishy-washy. Then we brought on a second liberal, which was this guy.
Like Jim.
No, I'm saying on issues. He's a nice guy. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah. But I'm saying, so in honor...
Jim proves you can walk upright without a spine.
Well, yeah.
Man.
That's not very nice.
I like Jim.
That's not very nice. But the bottom line is that we went to such lengths, and this is what we shouldn't have done, to show these people that we weren't biased. We hired 2 liberal columnists and 1 conservative, and we were still too conservative for them. And that second hire is the guy who went overboard.
He went overboard.
And we shouldn't have done. We hired out of pressure from the outside because we wanted to say to them, we are not what you're saying.
And
that was our fault.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you had a meeting, and because you still had a whole election to cover after this, and so you know that apparently you guys worked it out.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, it was, I don't want to rehash that here.
No, I'm saying you worked it out because it was in both your interests because you still had an election to cover.
Well, I'm going to tell you the reason why I was very willing to work it out was because of you. I respected you. I thought you if one person that actually ran a newspaper and ran it well was you. And I think if it was lacking in the media. I'll give you another example of the lunacy that's out there. You have the Westchester County passed this IPA.
Right, I wrote up, which was last week's column.
But did you know that there was a report from the Legislative Committee to the Board of Legislators, and the main reason for supporting the IPA, which is the Immigration Protection Act, is they cite in their report, the committee report to them, is a survey done in 2013. 2013. It was done as a survey of Latinos, 2004 Latinos, 501 from Chicago, Phoenix, Houston, and Los Angeles, so inner city Latinos, and they asked them about what their sentiment was about local law enforcement enforcing immigration laws on those that are become within the grasp of local law enforcement, and then they cherry pick an answer to one question, where they ask, so that they only surveyed Latinos, and those Latinos that they when it came to undocumented Latinos, they didn't like the fact that immigration was enforcing immigration laws. Well,
shocking.
When they actually surveyed Latinos that were U.S.-born Latinos, the numbers were the polar opposite. So where 70% of the undocumented,
Well, go figure. Yeah.
right, didn't want it. The 70% of those U.S.-born Latinos were in agreement with enforcement of the laws. The survey was done 2013. Who was president in 2013?
Obama.
Right. It was done based upon his program, which was called Secured Communities Program, which basically started deporting people based upon on criteria that they were either suspected terrorists, felons, convicted felons, or certain misdemeanors that presented a risk to the communities. The communities that obviously the Latino communities that are native, born Latino communities are preyed upon, and suffer the consequences of the lax immigration enforcement. But this is now, so all of a sudden, I guess Kathy Borgia wakes up 5 years later, is it, to say all of a sudden that the Obama program.
Well, 5 years later, when there's no more Astorino.
Yeah, when what pushes legislation that's based upon a survey that was critical of the Obama administration's immigration policy. Nothing to do with Trump. All right. So the thing is, but that doesn't make any difference to them.
But she still lied about it. I wrote the column before that on the IPA. I took her quote from Facebook, and I said, we're being misled. If this was so innocent, why do we need it? We already had what Astorino and Spano already put in place.
But it's
and the police never, ever asked a victim of a crime their immigration status.
I don't know how many times Eric Johansson, the former police chief of City of Peekskill, had to say that in front of the I don't know when you, at least the last year or so, when you were left. But he would say it over and over at all the meetings, and they'd always ask him, and he'd say, for the 10th time, we don't inquire about it.
But your party insists on instilling that.
Eric all the time would say, we are not a sanctuary city.
Right,
but he heard that
a
million times.
Your party insists on lying to the immigrant community that if you report a crime to you as a victim, you're going to be asked your status.
It's all fear.
And you lie to people all the time. Your party can't be honest about what it is. You wanted to blur the lines. Your party wanted to blur the lines between legal and illegal immigration. And they consequently made Westchester a sanctuary county and put in danger millions of dollars of government funding that we should be receiving.
The backfire piece, 1 week before the election, in the final frenzy, probably 5 days out. Peekskill United. Peekskill United sent out a flyer paid for by the New York State Republican Party that said, we have to crack down, don't let New York and Westchester become a sanctuary city, or we will have MS-13 on our street corners. Now, there is no MS-13 in our part of Westchester.
Moved from Mexico to Long Island.
Every Hispanic in the city of Peekskill saw that for what it was.
You know what it is?
And they voted against, and they kicked Frank Catalina out of office.
But
it didn't help.
The writing was on the wall.
There's no way you could say, I'm here for the Hispanic community. I'm not going to start a frenzy of fear and then tell people, oh my God, the Hispanics are coming. They're going to start. There's no El Salvadorian street gangs in Peekskill.
But the point being is that
we have very nice.
They were not on Island about 10 years ago.
You have very nice street gangs.
We have very nice street gangs, but they're not MS-13.
They go door to door for the Democrats.
The immigration issue is one that excites passions on both sides.
It does.
No question about it.
Which to me is
And the
baffling.
thing is, it does because the 24-hour news media needs the passion, needs the polemic arguments in order to create viewership. And the thing is, nobody gets to the truth of the matter, which is dangerous for the country in the long run.
Well, we've had this discussion about just the changing media is just dangerous. I think my nephews and nieces, I don't know where they're going to go for information.
Where
do they go to know that something's factual?
But they
Wait,
get
no.
it from Facebook.
I've got to stop
crazy,
this.
though.
I've
It's
got to
crazy.
stop this conversation in its tracks. We've got less than 2 minutes, and I wanted to cover something, and I got you three perfect. Cynthia Nixon is primarying Andrew Cuomo
Dumb and
on
dumber.
the premise
Oh, my God.
that Cuomo is not liberal enough.
Right.
Now, Andrew Cuomo just gave a New York State award to the ex-head of the New York State chapter of Planned Parenthood.
Oh God, don't get me started.
I
The
mean,
man who uttered that conservatives are not welcome in his state
right, but
is not liberal
I
enough.
have to ask all three of you: has New York
The
State's
clowns they come up
morals
with.
sank so low that we honor a woman whose primary accomplishment
abortion.
is killing babies?
We got a problem in the Democratic Party. Two of my clients, Carolyn Maloney, who's a liberal progressive Democrat woman in Manhattan, and Joe Crowley, who's a Democrat. They have both primaries from the left. There's a very fringe left-wing Bernie something out there, and it's left and lefter.
Oh, you can give me. So I go all night on that. You know what? The budget contained issue in there about not.